Hi there. A couple of things that were running through my mind right now. I was thinking about our right to be abundant, knowing that you are abundant already. When I talk about abundance, it's not money. There's so many people, I shouldn't say it's not money, it includes money, but it's not just about money. Like, abundance is much more than money. Money is just energy, but a lot of other things are. So abundance, in a sense, is this is giving yourself permission and giving yourself the right to have access to all there is, really. It's your relationship to yourself, which equates to the relationship that you have with the Creator, with God. And a lot of times we go through life feeling unworthy of this. And there's a difference between being arrogant and being humble. And you can't confuse meekness with humility either, because there's times when I recall so many times I put myself last or put myself, second. It's always, and I called this humbleness, or I called this, in a sense, like me being kind, disguised as kindness, but it wasn't at all, because kindness is like a whole nother topic. But this is really about being able to allow yourself, and I think people struggle. I think different people struggle with this. Like, we struggle with I know it's not making sense, but I'm trying to bring it all together. Like, a lot of us struggle with the notion that it's okay to put yourself first. I heard this analogy a while ago, and it was just the oxygen mask on an airplane, and how they say, in the event of the cabin being depressurized and the oxygen masks drop, you put it on yourself first before you attend to anyone else. Because a lot of people, especially mothers, they have that instinct of taking care of their child, and what happens a lot of times is they put it on their child and then they pass out, or they don't get a chance to even put it on the child. You have to take care of yourself first, and then you can be in a position where then you can give fully what you're allowing yourself to receive. I think that's where I'm going with this. Abundance is a birthright, and there is I'm currently working through what I always perceived to be some sort of block, something that was preventing me from actually being able to access that level of knowing, or allowing myself to access that level of just frequency. And what's holding me back was forgiveness. I've forgiven a lot of people in my life, and I had this exercise that I went through when I had a surgery a couple years ago. And when I after surgery and just kind of finding yourself laying in bed for a long time, I went through every single person in my life that I felt had wronged me. It's sort of like that list: relationships, friendships, family, co-workers, colleagues, bosses, so much that I felt was weighing me down. I felt I was carrying still all of these, being shackled to these cords from long ago, old companies that were no longer, were irrelevant, not right. Like, whatever, they laid you off, you know, they got fired, like, who knows, like, it was one of those things. I only got fired from one job ever, and I've held a lot, so far, knock on wood, I have not lost that. I got fired again, but I was young, and yeah, there was long story. I hated that job. Yeah, I think that I have to refilm this somehow. Get to a place that's quiet, get my thoughts in order, and then be able to just say, reframe it in a different way. But I just keep rambling because it's what I do anyways, but just inside my head. It just always sounds a lot better inside my head than it does when I'm actually verbalizing it. I feel like I have to catch up because the things are flowing like way too fast in my head versus, you know, it's like somebody speaking and then somebody that's not really a fast typist is like trying to keep up typing, and then you got to keep reframing and asking, like, what was that again? Repeat that. So hopefully I'm able to, hopefully that makes sense. Maybe some of you have experienced that before. But so I went through this exercise of forgiving all of this and letting go of all of this stuff, right? And I really felt so much lighter. And I was kind of early on in my, you know, initial awakening into, like, you know, higher levels of consciousness, and like going through this whole self-awareness exercise and being, you know, just aware. Whereas before it was like something I wouldn't have even thought about. But I definitely felt a difference, and I repeated this exercise again during like time that I had COVID and I was isolated. So I was in quarantine, and then I went through that same process, and I remember like having, you know, shortness of breath and like tightness in the chest, but I always like associated it with like, wow, it's like something's going on with like the heart, like something's going on with this center. Like there's a lot of releasing, there's a lot that is coming up to be released. And so at that time I'd come across the I don't think I'm gonna say this correctly, but the Ho'oponopono prayer. So the Hawaiian prayer for forgiveness, and it's just a couple of lines, and they're probably not in the right order, but it's like, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, I thank you. It's just that. It's somewhat of a mantra. I repeat it. You think of one particular person, or you think of something in that sense, and it's just as a way of forgiving yourself. And I did this exercise, and part of it too was forgiving myself, because at that time now I had the awareness of, hey, you've forgiven a lot of people in your life, but yet you are not including yourself on that list, and you need to, which I did. But now fast forward, like, it's like maybe I shed some layers there, and maybe, like, you know, thinking of this as like getting to the core. There was a lot of layers over the years that I've shed, but it's just like getting to the core, like, you know, ripping up the weed, but only on the visible surface level, keeping the roots still buried there underneath, right, which continues to allow this weed to regrow and regenerate itself again and again. And that was sort of that core wounding where there was some forgiveness. I wasn't forgiving myself fully, and there was a lot of grief and a lot of pain that I was still storing. And in a way, I was like, I maybe felt like it was a way of holding myself accountable, like some self-sacrificial type of way of experiencing pain, you know. And so that can be small for a long time. And even though it was like, even though I kept feeling like there's more, I know there's more, I want more, like I need, like there was always this thing about I'm just not content. I'm not happy where things are right now. Not just in my life, and I just focus on one aspect of my life and change it, and then move on to the next one. But there was always this. It's sort of like what I think, a lot of people who attain fame and they become really famous really quickly, and maybe that was always like the goal, but they were having fun at some point doing what they were doing, and then all of a sudden they became and were thrusted into this like light, and then massive success, but then they're miserable, like completely, utterly miserable, unhappy, and because it's like what you were chasing the whole time, it wasn't moving the needle at all. It wasn't what you were actually in search of or after. It is something more, something that cannot be attained through any means of like working your ass off, if you will, or something that you can buy. I feel like it's earned, but I feel like the way that you earn it is by acknowledging and accepting that you're worthy of it. That you're worthy of it because it's your right. It's kind of like you have amnesia and you go to your house and you own your house and you own all of these things, but then you just don't feel like it's yours, and you're not accepting of it because it's like, well, I don't know if this is mine. Like, how can I say this is mine if it just doesn't, I don't recall this being mine. It's in this remembrance of the fact that you are one with God, and the fact that anything that is of God is of you, and you are really, the word sounds, maybe it's not the right word, entitled. You're entitled to these. You're entitled to this. You are entitled to everything that God has created for itself. And as long as you use it for good, then I believe that you shouldn't have any problems allowing yourself and accepting this for yourself. Catch you later.